Your Auburn Tigers are victorious again on the hardwood. This time they defeat the Lions, I guess is what they're called, of North Alabama. They have won 102-69. This is our post-game reaction stream. We're going to break it down, the score, the stats, the storylines, all that's coming up right now. And of course, we're going to talk to you, the audience. Let's get into it and talk about this win. War Eagle, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live, the Auburn Experience, where we talk about the said Auburn Experience. What is it? What do we call the Auburn Experience? It's all about Auburn sports, Auburn culture, and Auburn family stuff. If you need me to dumb it down even further for you, if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. So thank you for joining in on what we do today or tonight. Tonight, what we're doing is talking about reacting to another Auburn Tigers basketball game, and thankfully, another win. Never take these for granted. I know some of these come with no shock, I think. This is an opponent that Auburn most likely was going to beat and hopefully beat handily, and they did. But certainly, we are thankful for the win. The Auburn Tigers are now 4-0 after defeating North Alabama 102-69, reaching the century mark for the first time, I think they said on the broadcast, since March of last year. And certainly a great performance by the Tigers. Little bit of adversity faced at times in the first half. Things got slow for certain players, the team overall, and then it just kicked into high gear when certain regular players that we're used to talking about took over. So we'll dive into all those different things here, and we'll talk about all the things that you want to discuss tonight on the broadcast, those of you that are watching live. Do us a favor as you come in, smash that like button. It's a huge help for us. If you're not subscribing, you need to do that as well so you can be a part of future conversations. We'd love for you to do that if you're not doing that already. And certainly let us know that you're here by posting where you're watching from, your city, your state, international. You can do that. It's a great way. Or just say War Eagle. Let us know that you're here hanging out on the live portion or on the replay for this particular discussion that we're having for reacting to Auburn versus North Alabama. Let me give you the rundown of what happened today in terms of statistics. Obviously, we won't hit everything in this one quick segment. We've got a bunch of other things we'll dive into, but obviously your final score 102-69. Your top scorers tonight, the top scorer, one Janai Broom with 30 points. Right behind him, we had, well, not right behind him, very far behind him, to be honest with you, because it was such a great performance. You had five others in double digits, led by Denver Jones at 13, and then three tied at 12 apiece with Chad Baker-Mazara, Miles Kelly, and Dylan Cardwell also cracking double digits in points tonight. Your other scores are Tahad Pettiford with 7, JP Pegues with 3, and then you also had Chaney Johnson with 8, who was trying to get up to that double-digit mark, but just was never able to do it. And then a couple of our walk-ons and Williams and Patterson were able to get some points at the end of the game and help us get over the century mark. Just a couple of the key big team stats to keep in mind. From the field tonight, Auburn 62% three-point arc, 44% free throw line, 71%. Turnovers only 11 to their 13, rebounds 26 to 35, and then so many other things that we could dive into here, and we certainly will tonight. But that is the story of tonight. But let's talk about what y'all wanted to discuss. What's on your minds? What's on your what are you most interested in talking about from this game? So many people already here hanging out with us to talk about this particular game. So thank you guys. We got celebrations for the century mark. It's always fun. We came close earlier in the year to hitting this century mark. And certainly you expect to do it against teams like this. And I do not mean that in any way to be disrespectful. When coach schedules people, when his staff schedules teams, he looks for teams that have a reason to either maintain their competitiveness, to be competitive that year. We're talking about in their conference, in the college basketball landscape. So while I'm not going to sit here and prop up and say that Auburn would face some humongously formidable opponent in North Alabama tonight, this is a team that's not a pushover. Stanford tends to be a pretty good opponent every single year, and North Alabama gave them a little bit of trouble as well. So that kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of where they land, at least competitive wise. And let's just talk about this tonight. Let's give credit where credit is due, because you come into Neville Arena and you expect to lose, because that's why we call it the Nev, because you never win. Credit to North Alabama. Not only did they weather the storm of Auburn getting off to the start they typically do at home, shooting very well. They came back from a deficit and took the lead. And we all kind of sat around and said, okay, guys. And then it was like Janai Brim, who hadn't scored up to that point, finally said, all right, enough is enough. I'm going to go on my roll, and that's going to gear everybody else up. And so obviously the snowball continued to roll from there. But that, to me, that was, I just want to give credit where credit is due to our opponents tonight and give them something to be thinking about. Yes, I am battling not a cold or an allergy tonight, but it is literally right before the game started. We were doing some stuff around the house. I got into something that is making me, oh gosh, I shouldn't have done that. It's gonna make me sneeze. I am battling that tonight, so I do apologize for that, but we'll work through it. All right, Robert, settle down. Everybody, I'm gonna pick on Robert here for a little bit. In our reaction streams, we are all getting into this bad habit of not just celebrating and talking about the current thing we're doing. Let's focus on that. I get it. I'm excited about Maui too, but let's focus on this one, and then we'll talk about Maui when it gets here. And after that, I'm going to ask that we all do a better job of that year of just enjoying the moment that we currently have. All right, let's see. Devin says, woo, great game for the boys. Kind of wish they would find a way to avoid those shooting slumps towards the end of the half. Always seems to happen. You will hit a slump typically throughout the game. Maybe there is a little bit of a pattern there as we get towards the end of the half. Obviously, if they've got it on tape, the coaches will definitely show that to the boys, and certainly they'll try to address it. My goodness, I'm trying real hard to not sneeze all on camera and stuff. I want to know what I got into, because it has been, since the game started, me sneezing nonstop, sniffing nonstop, and I usually don't have like bad allergies and things like that. Let's see here. One of the slumps might cost us the game. It certainly might. That's obviously out there. But the great thing is that we're showing, I don't want to say great thing. You are showing these things right now so that they can get them on tape, address them, and figure out how to combat this, keep this from happening against opponents who might be more susceptible to take advantage of it tonight. And certainly North Alabama took advantage of opportunities tonight to get the lead at one point in the first half. All right, let's keep moving here. Lots of people checking in with us. Good to see you guys on all different formats, and some people on both. I normally like to ask you guys, who is your player of the game, right? That's what we normally like to talk about. This is one of those nights where it is clear who it is. Janai Broom, 30 points tonight, which matches his career high. I think 32 would have been his new, or 31, I guess. Anyway, he was close to getting his new career high. He gets 17 rebounds tonight. Let me just paint the picture for the night that this man had. He doesn't score his first basket until somewhere in the 7-minute mark for Auburn in the first half. Completely, I don't even think he got a shot off, if I'm not mistaken of that. But from that point forward, especially for about a 4-minute stretch there, he goes from 0 points, maybe no shots at all, to 11 points. And then it's just like it kept snowballing from there. 30 points, 13 from 17 from the field, 1 for 2 from the three-point land, 3 for 5 from free throw line, 17 rebounds, 1 assist, only 1 personal foul, and only 1 turnover tonight in 26 minutes of play. What a night for Janai Broom. Obviously, your player of the game, and certainly he very well deserved that tonight. But if you had to pick somebody else to give that recognition to, not even that recognition to, who would it be for you guys? You guys in the chat right now, let me know. Who would you give like maybe the second player of the game to? You got some good candidates here. Denver Jones, Chad Baker Mazzara. He really got off to a hot start tonight. Miles Kelly, Dylan Cardwell. Who are you giving that tip of the cap to in regards to, you deserve recognition alongside this amazing 30-point performance from Janai Broom tonight? Just for me, I think you could make a case either way. I'm going to sneeze real quick, I think. Oh, goodness. We're going to make it through tonight. It would happen to me right before I got to do a show. A couple of people giving some recognition here. Denver Jones. Denver looked really solid tonight in what he was doing, shooting the ball, sharing the ball, moving around. There was one somebody pointed it out on social media how large our lineup was, and that included Denver in that at one point. I think it was Dylan, Janai, Chris Moore, Denver, and Chad Baker Mazzara. And like that's a very big lineup. TJ wants to give credit to Dylan. There you go. I think honestly, look at his stat line: 12 points, 5 for 6 from the field. So very, very efficient. He doesn't take any 3-pointers tonight. He is 100% from free throw line, 2 for 2. There's a lot of 2 for 2s tonight for a lot of guys. I like seeing that at the free throw line. 3 rebounds for him, 2 assists, and only 1 personal foul and 1 turnover in 20 minutes of play. 23 minutes of play. Sorry, I misread somebody there. He has a very solid night point-wise and other things that he's doing, but he also had some great highlight moments of nice slams that he put down, moving the ball around, participating with everybody, diving out for the ball and knocking it off another defender to go off the ball to go off him out of bounds, athleticism being displayed. So I think Dylan tonight gets a lot of credit for some of the things that we're used to seeing him do, but it was just an all-encompassing night for him of being very versatile. Let's see what Freeze Era says. Tahad wasn't the star, but who is the low-sung player of the team? Kelly Jones and P. Geeks. I'm not understanding what low-sung question is, but maybe clarify a little bit for me there. Stan asked earlier, is the high scorer always the player of the game? I think it's always the easiest thing to go to, but that's why I always try to give you guys everybody's story in the game is to us to have a conversation about what may or may not be an option for player of the game. There are nights like this where Janai Broom is, and it's not even about the point, 17 rebounds. 17 rebounds. That's ridiculous. You know, it's not a difficult thing for Janai to get double doubles, but he almost got enough to have 2 double doubles on the night. If you think about it, all you need is 10 points and 10 rebounds, and he nearly gets, if he gets 20 rebounds, he could have done it twice in one game, essentially. So on nights like tonight, Janai is clearly the player of the game, but it's not always the leading scorer. The low-sung player, the least spoken about in the game. Okay, I thought that's what you meant, Freeze Era. I've never heard that phrase before. The unsung, that I've heard before, player. So that's a great question. Let's we got the clarification. Let's all answer it. Who is your unsung hero of the game or player of the game? The guy that's not going to get the credit he deserves in this game. I think you could probably make a case for Dylan Cardwell. He is in the top 5 in scoring, tied for 3rd overall tonight. But compared to everybody else, a lot of the things that Dylan was doing, participating in, to me, that shows a lot. So if you got somebody tonight that would be the unsung hero, in a sense, I think is what we were essentially talking about, certainly let us know tonight. Everybody gets on the board scoring except for Chris Moore and Muselic, I think is how you say his last name, who only got to play for officially a minute, but I think it was more than that. My goodness. Sorry, guys. Whew. Trying to keep from sneezing into this microphone. Oh, so you did mean unsung hero. Yeah, it just took me for a minute to figure out what you were talking about. WT wants to give a shout out to the maturity of CBM this year. It is impressing me this year. Yeah, all those people that were speaking out very openly and very rudely about CBM. He made a terrible mistake, a very selfish mistake. But people oftentimes want to be the first to, speak out against it and say, oh, it shouldn't be this way. But they don't want to give people a chance to prove that they can do better. We know that Chad could do better, continue to get better on the court, but we wanted to see him grow in that way. And I think he has certainly shown that, and which is why he's such a fan favorite. I like compare and contrast. To me, him and KD Johnson, who's no longer with us, have very similar trajectories. Got here is known for being a little bit of a hothead, but became, very likable, very lovable in the fan base, and still needed to mature a little bit as players. And when they do, they're having great nights like this. I mean, there's a reason that Chad Baker Mazzara was, voted third team all SEC in preseason. They knew that he was going to be a great offensive production guy or just a stats guy, but he was certainly going to have even better nights to come. All right, we can take some more comments and questions about the game. Let me go over here to some team stats. Let's look at those things. Remember, we're going to walk through some of these and try to find our stat of the game that tells the story. I think certainly 62% from the field might be your best candidate for that tonight. 44% from the 3-point arc certainly is a good thing too. But my big three that I'm always looking at for Auburn basketball. Maybe sorry. Ooh, man. We're gonna make it. Woo. All right. The big three stats that I always look for in the game that tells the tale of the tape for me personally, or the most important. Free throws were 71% tonight. Congrats to North Alabama with 91% to our 71%. So it's not my high watermark of 80, but certainly I won't get too upset about 71%. Turnovers tonight, a little bit more than I thought we had. 13 for North Alabama, 11 for Auburn. So we win that category. And then total rebounds tonight, 26 for North Alabama, 35 for Auburn. We tie in the offensive rebound category, but far exceed them in the defensive rebounding category. So you win 2 out of 3 of those. Typically, for me, I see that. I think that the team that does those wins. It's not always the case, but I think those are the stats that can shift the outcome of the game when some other things aren't obviously at play. But 62% from the field is certainly going to help that. We'll walk through a couple more here, and then we'll take some comments and questions. Second chance points tonight for Auburn, 15 to their 8. Bench points. Actually, hey, more bench points from North Alabama tonight. They had 3 guys in double digits, and everybody scores for them except for 2 of their players. So pretty good production for them. So hats off to them. This kind of goes to building that narrative that this wasn't such a bad team after all, that we were playing. Points in the paint we had 50, but they had 40. Interesting. Block 6 for us, none for them. They had 8 steals to only our 6, and assists. Oh boy, that might be the stat right there. I think there's a couple candidates that you could have for stat of the game. Honestly, if you look at it, 62% from the field is hard to ignore. That's a really good thing there. Our 3-point percentage is very good as well. But I think I've got to give it to our assist. North Alabama has 5. Auburn has 25. My goodness, that's a lot. I've seen bigger differentials there before, but sharing the ball is something that will obviously make the team flow better together, create more opportunities. But you got to be able to do that at home. These are the stats that you have to dominate when you're at home, and Auburn did that. This is why Auburn is so successful in Neville Arena, because of things like this. Unselfish play, 25 total assists. Who leads the way? That's Denver Jones tonight, and that might be a tick in the column for him for being that unsung hero tonight, even though he does get into double-digit points. So for me, that's the stat of the night. Assist, 5 to 25. That tells the tale of the tape. Yes, Katie Johnson. Oh, no, sorry. I didn't mean to make it sound like he passed away. No, he's at George Mason. Brent says that UNA is a pretty good team. They have forced a high rate of turnovers this year. Auburn didn't do bad in that respect. Well, we look at that again. Only they have 13. We have 11. You expect them to have more on the road. We've had as low as 6, I think, this year. So it's a little bit more than that, obviously. If it had gotten any higher than that, I've been a little bit more concerned about that stat. But certainly it's not too much to get upset about tonight. One of the things we haven't talked about yet is how this team responded when Janai wasn't playing a lot in the first half, like he started and then went out for a long period of time, and what happens when he's not in there. This is during that time period when UNA was making that comeback. To me, that's a little, I don't want to say it's concerning, but certainly you want to know that the team can withstand stretches without Janai Broome, because we know people know who he is. They've known that for a while, and they know that you got to try to remove him from the game in some aspect, whether that's getting him in foul trouble or defending him really well. Good luck with that. What does the team do without him? He is the star player. And so you saw a little bit of that tonight, some struggles, but Auburn obviously didn't let it get out of hand. TJ, going back to our assist discussion, he says Auburn has 77 assists compared to their opponents having 23 assists over the season so far, I believe. That is quite a stat if that is true. Now, you've got 3 games at home, right? Yes. And 1 on the road, essentially at Houston at a neutral site. So that does play into your favor a little bit for you to have more assists, but certainly 77 to 23 is pretty interesting right there. WT says, I like that we don't have 1 or 2 stars in a bunch of role players. It's almost like if anyone is down in the game, the rest just pick up the slack. And that's what makes good teams great. And that's what makes great teams elite. And that's what makes elite teams champions. Don't read too much into that. Certainly when we get further into non-conference play and see how the results go, I will start making some calls about where I feel like this team will head. This Maui Invitational series coming up is going to be really instrumental in that. But I do want to keep this win in perspective, give respect where it is due to North Alabama. But certainly this is a team that you should have beat by this type of margin at home. Just thankful that Auburn took care of business tonight. Okay. So we talked about a lot of things. We talked about the score, the stats, the storylines. We've probably missed some things that maybe you want to discuss that are related to this game specifically. Let me know in the chat right now if we haven't hit a topic that you'd like to have discussed or anything that you'd like to discuss further. Do that for us right now. Let me give you the rundown while you're thinking about that and thinking about some things that maybe we round out the show with. Reminders for you for what's coming up next for us here at E2C Network. Hopefully Kyle doesn't sound as nasally. How about that, right? But our next scheduled live stream is the Auburn Family Night. We've been doing this since the dawn of time. Wednesday nights at 7 Central, 8 p.m. Eastern time. It's our live call-in show. We will talk about anything and everything Auburn with you. Doesn't even have to be sports related. If you can make it about the orange and blue, it's what we do. It's what we always say here, the Auburn Experience. So join us 8 p.m. Eastern time, 7 Central here on YouTube for Auburn Family Night this Wednesday evening. We will have our preview and prediction show on Thursday for Auburn versus Texas A&M, and I will be on campus again for the final home game weekend for Auburn football. So plenty of content there too. So be staying tuned for more announcements about schedule for content and all kinds of stuff that we got going out there. But that's a look ahead. As always, look in our description link on YouTube for ways that you can get involved, get connected, and support us. One of the ways that you can do that is shopping at Alumni Hall. If you go to our link in there and go to Alumni Hall through our affiliate link, you are able to support them and support us at the exact same time. So thank you guys for those of you that are able to do that. Okay. What do we have left to discuss? Anything to mention? Let's see here. Preeds was asking about production for the NBA, but he was saying considering we have 10 potentially graduating, that is, I think people have not really wrestled what's going to happen next year. You're going to have a completely new team. So this is part of the reason why I say let's enjoy what we have right now. Don't be looking to move ahead too fast. Enjoy these moments, these games, these 30-point performances by Janai Broome, because not only is he gone, but Denver's gone. Chad Baker-Mazara is gone. Dylan Cardwell's gone. JP Pegues is gone. Chris Moore is gone. Shaney Johnson, I think, has some eligibility. I could be wrong there too. It's going to be very different. It's going to be very different. Enjoy it while you got it. Anything else? Anything else left to talk about? We went through individual stats. We gave player of the game and unsung heroes. That's probably what we'll add that to our arsenal of things we talk about every single game. Team stats. We found our main stat. We talked about the 100th century mark. Last thing, maybe just kind of as a note about the roster. Most of you know about the issue that happened, the altercation on the plane involving Jaheim Hudson and Ja'Kai Howard. Unfortunately, they're still dealing with the ramifications of that. But today, they did dress out, which they've been on the bench, but not dressed out. So they were dressed out tonight. I think this looks like it's part of a natural process of reinstating them in a sense to the team, to all that stuff. They were still practicing things like that, still in classes. I've seen some stuff online about some things maybe they've been kind of doing to kind of acquaint themselves with after that incident. So I think we're heading in the right direction there. I'm not going to sit here and say that both guys will immediately find their way back into the rotation, but certainly it looks like that's all heading in the right direction. So you can be encouraged by that. Um, let's see here. I think Burrow has Auburn past needing to rebuild. He just reloads, and I wouldn't disagree with that a whole lot, Stan. That's a fair assessment of where we're at as a program right now. But this year, this transition year, which still several games off, several months off, will tell the tale if that continues to be true. I know you want me to dive into that. I kind of talked about this a little bit earlier. What is Auburn's ceiling, in your opinion? I'm not really ready to go there. Too many people throw these predictions out there way too early. We have one good benchmark in the Houston game, which is a very good one, in my opinion. I think all of college basketball recognized that as well. I'd like to hold off until we get almost done with non-conference before I really make a hardcore opinion on that. But where I always stand on this is what I think about the program in general. In my opinion, is that Hugh Freeze, wow, that's a different thing. Bruce Pearl has brought the program to the standard that a Sweet 16 appearance should be expected every single year. I see nothing, and I mean nothing, to indicate that that wouldn't be true this year so far. But the question is, do I move it past that? I'm very slow and cautious in that. I did it a little bit last year, moved it up to Elite Eight, came very close to Final Four, but that's when we ran into some troubles. So we're certainly going to get there at some point. But I was just going to hold firm with my standard approach of expectations are Elite Eight. Excuse me. Getting ahead of myself. Sweet 16 as a program currently at this time. Will it change? That's on them. They can keep performing this way. We certainly will be talking about that very, very soon. All right. That is going to be it for us in our show. Thanks for sticking with me. Thanks for sticking with me through the sniffles tonight. And I'm excited to talk Auburn basketball with you guys in the future. Certainly be looking for game reaction shows after the Maui Invitationals. Those will be coming up next week. Thank you so much for hanging out. Until we talk to you again, War Eagle.